Ty Majeski is different from most drivers because he knows what he's driving like the back of his hand. As the protege to Wisconsin late model legend Toby Nutterman, who built and worked with the likes of Dick Trickle and Tony Raines, Majeski became not only a racer at heart but also an engineer at heart, something he fell back on as his opportunities to drive in NASCAR were waning away. Ty Majeski joined Thorsport in 2021 with the idea of becoming a full-time driver. Instead, he would become an engineer for most of the year, with only a handful of starts in the 66 truck, the fifth entry for Thorsport on certain weekends. In the offseason, Midwest late model driver Johnny Sauter retired from full-time racing. Taking his place, ironically, would be Wisconsin late model driver Ty Majeski. Joe Shear Jr., another Wisconsin late model guy, remained as crew chief. Sharing their passion for racing and engineering, the typical day sees Majeski, Shear Jr., and the engineers racing the sim for 4 hours a day prepping for the next race. The dedication and attention to detail, it was the thing that got Majeski to the playoffs, to the dance in the first place. Even as there were many Ty Majeski moments on the season. Many times where he would stick his nose in there just a bit too deep and wreak havoc on his competition. Still, the only NASCAR races Ty Majeski was winning were in the NASCAR Heat 2 games, where he drove the 60 car and for the absolutely stacked Roush team. For Bristol last month, however, that was far from one of those, hey, I won, time to turn off the simulator and head to bed. No, it was the real thing, and he did not just win his first top 3 NASCAR division race on that Thursday night, but the timing was absolutely perfect to officially advance into the championship race for the NASCAR Truck Series. Now locked into the big race, well into advance, Joe Shear Jr. brought an experimental setup to Homestead Speedway, since this track is nowhere near Miami, and that truck absolutely kicked the tailpipe of their competition. This 66, formerly 13 team had all the potential to make it to the top, but at the wheel they had a liability in a declining Johnny Sauter. With Ty Majeski, this team of Midwest late model racers have made it big at the national NASCAR level, and with all the momentum they have, all the testing and preparation they've been able to do since punching their ticket in September, Ty Majeski right now is the favorite to win the truck championship. For a driver that many thought was done at the end of 2018, Ty Majeski now has fate in his own hands to officially become a NASCAR Truck Series champion, a rise many thought was improbable at the end of 2018 and last season. Ty Majeski now has fate in his own hands. He controls his own destiny to go out there and make NASCAR history. If you're a fan of raw talent, you do not care about how they got here, but rather what they do when they get here. Zane Smith is your driver. Whether it was getting top 10s in the Xfinity Series as a guy with minimal top 3 experience, or whether it was his phenomenal 2 truck seasons at GMS. The problem has never been talent when it comes to Zane Smith, but rather in execution. In his own words, Zane Smith has found just about every single way to lose the championship. 2020, he had the correct strategy but ran out of time to catch and pass teammate Sheldon Creed. 2021, he was in cruise control before that one demon that has haunted his entire career bit him at the worst possible moment, and that being long run speed. Ben Rhodes chased him down. He hounded him in that final run of the race to leave him yet again a second place bridesmaid for the second year in a row. As they say, third time's the charm, right? Year 3 of Zane Smith in the NASCAR Truck Series saw him move from GMS to the single car Front Row Motorsports truck team. Chris Lawson's program gained a ton of momentum in the last half of the 2021 season with Todd Gilliland, even making it to the Owners' Championship 4. Zane Smith adapted immediately to the FRM culture by winning at a super speedway and helping the 38 win back-to-back truck races at COTA. Then at Kansas in May, he put everyone to sleep with a dominant 134-lap performance. Those have been Zane Smith's only victories, but those statement wins as well as his regular season championship solidified him as the driver to beat. Now for the third straight year, Zane Smith will be running for the NASCAR Truck Series Championship. And the question going into this race will be this: is the third time the charm? Is it true? Many reasons can lead you to saying yes. Zane Smith knows what hasn't worked for him, so he will be more likely to make decisions on race day and behind the wheel that will work. Manufacturer-wise, Ford has the advantage. This is their only truck in the fight, so they can allocate all their resources, all their people, everything into this 38 truck to make sure it goes out and dominates this final race to win Ford the Drivers' Championship and the Owners' Championship in the Truck Series. If the championship were awarded to the most talented, most hard-working, and most deserving driver as well as team, Zane Smith and this Front Row organization, they would win that without question. There is no debate to be had. In this format though, they've still got one race in the Arizona desert to realize that dream and finally kill the demons that have held them back for many years. Statistically, entering fatherhood makes you much more mature. For Zane Smith, he has wisened up a lot since his subpar rookie season, for KBM standards, to become one of the top truck drivers on the tour. I think the root of his blossoming began with his 2021 playoff run. He was thrown into the water at Bristol for the elimination race facing a sink-or-swim situation. He swam to the shores of the round of 8 with a clutch victory on that evening in Bristol, Tennessee, and to end the 2021 season, he had a dominant victory. Be sure to keep that on the back of your mind as we get to this season. Chandler Smith, he did not waste any time proving that he could be like Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, and various other successful graduates of the Kyle Busch Motorsports truck program. It is hard to disappoint the boss man when he's doing the cap dance in the neon garage, at least the owner Kyle Busch. Driver Kyle Busch, that was probably a completely different story. At Pocono later in the summer, you couldn't even entertain the idea of a Hail Mary to get into the playoffs because Chandler Smith was charged up to get that statement victory, leading 49 of the 60 laps to get his second win of the season and grab some all-important momentum. Some momentum before the postseason that takes 3.5 months to complete. At least for Richmond, he and his 18 team wouldn't have their momentum broken up with off weeks and off weeks galore, dominating yet again to win race number 3 on the year. So of course, with running 6 playoff races in 13 weeks, momentum in the NASCAR Truck Series has swung like a pendulum. Homestead last Saturday was not what we expect from Danny Stockman and Chandler Smith, but for a good reason. They needed just to have a solid points day to advance, putting more emphasis on the truck they're taking to Phoenix. Although, when you look at his performance there last season, a wise strategy might be to just bring back that same 18 truck from last year with a new nose on it. Once again, that race shared the theme of Chandler Smith dominating the last half to take the victory. This Friday night marks his Chandler Smith's final NASCAR Truck Series race before graduating to the Xfinity Series with Colleague Racing. His journey was filled with a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but through it all, he has become mature. He has become a driver comfortable in himself. It would only be fitting that this journey that began at Iowa in 2019 at 17 years old ends with him leaving his mark on the series forever. Ben Rhodes has spent his time this year doing 2 things: paving roads in Kentucky for his family's paving business and paving his way to become a back-to-back Truck Series champion. Ironically, for a guy hauling asphalt in his spare time, his only win on the 2022 season was on a dirt track. Even with Chase Elliott and Joey Logano leeching, Rhodes swept the stages and was one of about 5 drivers that broke the heart of Carson Hocevar this season. Since conquering Bristol dirt like a gladiator, the 99 team hasn't found their rhythm since the wear and tear stretch of the season. 8 consecutive weeks of races which slid Rhodes from the regular season points leader to 7th by the time Pocono rounded out the 10-driver postseason. And Ben Rhodes even admitted that he was more of a Bristol or Martinsville guy, but even then, at the short track races in the playoffs, he didn't lead any laps. So why is Ben Rhodes even here? Why is he even in this situation to defend his championship on Friday? There's 2 things we have to look at here. His maximization at Talladega, where he scored 11 stage points and finished 2nd in the race. Then Homestead, potentially because of Matt Crafton and Christian Eckes not running 100% to help a fellow Thorsport teammate out. But also, once again, he did phenomenal in the stages to edge out Stuart Friesen and to keep his title defense alive. Ben Rhodes is not the championship favorite this year. Even with the Thorsport organization, all signs right now point to the 66 team and Ty Majeski as that team to beat, as that driver that everyone's chasing down. Where he is favored has to rely with the experience department. As 7 years at Thorsport, it is enough to officially classify Ben Rhodes as a veteran in this series. Especially when you consider the fact that truck drivers, they come and go so frequently. We've seen many graduate to the Xfinity and the Cup Series. On top of that, now Ben Rhodes, he is starting to build up a playoff resume. 5 appearances in the past 6 years, and now back-to-back appearances in the championship race, the winner-take-all event. I would not, on any circumstance, bet on Ben Rhodes letting the emotions get the best of him in Phoenix. He's been there, done that. Now, with the consistent stretch of races, this 99 team is hitting their championship form at the right time, when the big trophy is on the line. And that is why you cannot, under any circumstance, under any reason, count out the 2021 Truck Series champion from getting the job done for the 2nd year in a row. For the 14th and final time, Camping World Holdings will present the championship trophy to the best truck driver on the year. Next year, Stanley Black & Decker becomes the 3rd presenter in series history, but they will do it under a familiar banner to all. For now, though, we have 4 drivers in 3 different organizations that will hope to add their name alongside the likes of Ron Hornaday Jr., Jack Sprague, and Todd Bodine, or in the case of Ben Rhodes, do it again and join Elusive Company as a multi-time NASCAR Truck Series champion. It's only fitting that in the playoffs that took 3 months to determine the championship for, the pendulum of momentum has swung throughout these playoffs. And as we know, the NASCAR Truck Series is all about momentum, and who has that momentum right now? Who has it at the right time? That's easily Ty Majeski. He and his 66 team, they not only have won 2 of the last 3 races, but they've had over a month and a half to focus squarely on the Phoenix truck. Do you guys understand how much of an advantage that is? They were able to experience, do a lot more research now that they didn't have to focus on Talladega and could put out that ghost car at Homestead Speedway. And add in the fact that you have engineering experts, Ty Majeski and Joe Shear Jr. crafting this piece. That is why, right here, it is hard not seeing this 66 team as your 2022 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champions. So anyways, this is Nathan for NRF Productions signing out, and just remember, guys and gals, life's a beach and then you drive.